Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of After the Honeymoon.
Yeah. Hola 7. No?
No.
Hey guys. It's been a minute. How you guys doing?
I hope you guys are good.
Yeah. How are you, wifey?
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. And yourself?
I'm good. You look good.
Do I?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm good. What are we on today? What are we putting our people on today? What are we talking about? What are we opening about in our unionship? Or
Nah.
Yeah.
Today we are talking about intimacy.
We're talking about intimacy after having children. But obviously this is just as always, we always speak of things that we've experienced, but I think this could apply to people that have been together for a long time and lived together for a long time. It's a very broad topic, but I mean, wifey can obviously get into detail.
Yeah, no, why am I getting into details if I'm being intimate by myself?
No.
But,
well, from a woman perspective.
Yeah, no, we'll have both women and men's perspective. I think, obviously, I think this will be for both people who have had kids and people who haven't had kids and people who are planning to have kids. Because obviously we're giving, like my husband said, we're giving insight on our personal experience. So this might not be for everyone, but it's things to consider because your life really does change after you have kids.
Definitely.
Your life changes as an individual, as a couple, as a sibling of someone else, as a daughter or son, whatever.
Yeah.
Your relationships and the dynamics of who you are really, really changes after you have kids.
Yeah, definitely. I mean...
And not always for the bad.
No. Not at all. It's just there's a lot of challenges, obviously, because there's now other humans to consider outside of just the two of you. Like full time. When you when you consider a visitor, it's okay. We'll consider this person for a week or 3 days or whatever. And then they're gonna go.
Permanent visitor.
Yeah, this one no. It's yeah. Wire.
Yeah.
So it there's a lot of intimacy changes that happen. And I mean, like we said, intimacy is broad. For us, it's very broad. It there's a lot of things. There's the touching, when anywhere and everywhere. There's the dirty talk, quote unquote, dirty talk in the car, excuse me, over the phone.
The car? Oh, like when we're talking in the car?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Yes. What were you thinking?
I know, Quebec.
Freakazoid. Just like from top of my head, it was literally like anytime, anywhere. Obviously, this comes with you and I. And the touching, the rubbing of the butt or the grabbing of, holding hands. There's a lot of things. Not to say those things get like isolated completely, but the consideration makes them less frequent everywhere. it's almost like you gotta have a spot where you channel, and you're like, okay, cool. This is our time. This is where we are intimate, whether we're going out to have a coffee or to shop or to watch a movie or to run errands. It's very crucial for us to have our own time, and it now gets created in many ways.
Yeah. And it's also, I believe, and I think for a lot of us in like our generation, for instance, a lot of us didn't really see our parents being intimate. And so I think there is a very thin line though between being private and just completely hiding the fact that you guys are actually a couple. I think for a lot of us, you start to see your parents as like siblings. They're just cohabitating or roommates, because you don't get to see them actually loving on each other.
Yeah. It's almost awkward.
Exactly. And so for me, and I think I can speak for you as well to say, I think for us, the aim is, it's not to say that the intimacy in front of kids is completely gone, but I can say that we are calculated about it, because we do want to show our kids that we love each other, and what it means for mom to love, her husband, and what it means for husband to love, the mother, and what that looks like. Because I think for a lot of us, we didn't get to experience or see what intimacy and love looks like in our parents or in the elders. And because it was just so taboo. And I think that kind of damaged a lot of us as well, because we only got to see like the hard parts, dad going to work every day, having a hard time at work, coming home frustrated, tired, and he just wants to have dinner, and then it's bedtime, and mom also just slaving away and making sure that the kids are fed and husband is fed, and like that was it. There was no soft spots, there were no curves. Everything was rigid, everything was hard, everything was just black and white. We didn't get to see the in-betweens of what makes it beautiful, what makes a relationship loving, what makes a marriage soft and beautiful and loving. We only got to experience the rigid, hard parts of the man goes out and works, and the woman makes sure that the kids are fed and the husband is fed, and that's it.
And I think it spills over, the intimacy part spills over, as you're talking about how the in urban black society, what the norm was. Obviously our folks were not really like quote unquote touchy, in any way, shape or form. This is obviously a majority. We're not saying everyone, but like majority. So it spills over to now you don't really understand how to be in touch with your physical emotions, like even with friends, like whether it's hugging, a sibling, or even hugging your own parents.
Yeah, like hugging becomes awkward.
Yeah, now it's almost like,
and it's
taboo.
Yeah.
Like it's taboo. Like I know with me, I still struggle to kiss older women. Like, oh mama, no go, the baby kisses. I'm just like, the older I got, I was like, obviously when I was younger, I was like, now I'm in this corner. I have to kiss this woman.
They're going to give you this big fat wet kiss.
I don't know about wet, but them baby kisses. Oh, and I'm just like, ew. But now, I mean, this is what it is, right? Oh, and now that I'm older, I'm still affected by that because I can't do it. Like, I don't want to do it. Don't kiss me.
Yeah, definitely.
And, by the time maybe the folks try to show that side, it's late, because I'm already like, I've got this PTSD, and it's just taboo to be kissing older women, even men, because there's fathers, I kiss my son, you know. I had to get into it though, and I'm still not fully over it. Like I'm still not over that line. You know what I mean? But you know, I hold him, squeeze him every day. You know, just make sure that, you know, being intimate is not something that is taboo, or rather expressing how you feel, because a hug is an expression.
Yeah.
You know, when I come back from work and our kids run towards me and give me hugs, they're expressing how they feel. But if it's awkward, how do they then express that excitement? If it's like, no, we don't, you know, if they don't see us being expressive about, you know, just embracing the people that you love.
Yeah, and you know, speaking about our children, you know, the way they run up to you or myself, you know, when we home in the afternoons and they see us and whatever, it's so natural for them to do it. Like, I don't think we've ever taught them, like, hey, when you see us, you need to run up and give us a hug. No, like it's so automatic and involuntary for them to do it, like the running up and hugging. You know, it's on such a cellular level as a human being to express affection and love through physical touch and showing it physically, you know. And so obviously, if you're awkward as the parent when your kid is hugging you, automatically they begin to learn that that kind of physical affection is weird, or is wrong, or is not the norm, is uncomfortable. And so they'll stop doing it. And automatically now your kids are growing up and they're not really affectionate with you or other people. Or then your son is growing up and now they find a partner and they're not romantic and they're not affectionate and they don't know how to show their partner love physically, even though they love their partner, but it's difficult for them to show it because they didn't grow up knowing that, or when they grew up, they were taught unintentionally that it's awkward to show emotion like that.
How did it affect you? I mean, you were very like it was hard for you to get over the line even before kids.
Yeah, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I think more so, my dad was affectionate, but I think he was affectionate. He was actually a very touchy person in terms of his affection. You know, he would do, and he wasn't affectionate in like the normal way or like the normal everyday way that you would see, but he would like it wasn't always necessarily the hugs and whatever, and I think even for him, I think it might have been difficult for him as well to figure out how to show affection physically, but he really did try, and he really, you know, I think I remember as we got a little bit older, he started really getting into the hugging and the kissing and stuff like that. And I think even for me, it was a little bit strange at first because I know he wasn't used to it. But I also wanted him to show him that it's okay to be physically affectionate. But he would do, you know, the small things like, you know, it'd hold your hand and kind of like rub the palms of your hands, or you know, rub your neck. You know, those little things that I could tell that he is actually physically affectionate. It's just that because he probably also grew up in an environment where he wasn't used to it, he didn't know how to express it, or didn't always know if it was appropriate or not, you know. But my mom, on the other hand, she was not a very physically affectionate person. she was almost cold, to be honest, I could say. And so, but the thing is, she tried to force it, but it just always translated as awkward and uncomfortable. Like the hugs were always awkward. To be honest, I really hated giving my mom hugs because they were just awkward. The kisses were awkward. It just felt, it felt off, and I don't know why. I guess now in hindsight, looking back at how our relationship turned out, I can, I guess, tell why it was probably awkward. I think she just went through life kind of doing things that she thought was right to do, but wasn't coming from a genuine place. And so I don't think when she hugged us or when she kissed us that it was really coming from a warm place. And not because she hated us or disliked us, probably, but because she just didn't know how to tap into that.
Yeah, I was about to say, us busy, just talking about the diversity of it. That's probably what it is, really.
Yeah.
Even how did you, let me just fast track. How are you tapping into that? This is now, obviously, it's a broad question for you because it's pre and post. So let's start with pre, or let's say post kids, because now you've got kids. Right?
Yeah.
How are you tapping into, before we get into the intimacy with your partner, how are you tapping into the intimacy with yourself? Being comfortable with being intimate with yourself, because intimacy for me is
starts with yourself.
Yeah, do you show yourself compassion?
Ooh, yeah.
Do you show yourself compassion? Are you gentle on yourself? Are you not too hard on yourself? How do you show yourself that intimacy?
It's very difficult, I don't want to lie to you. I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. Most importantly, I always say, I struggle to show myself grace. I'm able to show other people way more grace than I'm able to show myself. And that's where intimacy, I think, begins. Intimacy with other people begins with yourself. You need to be, like you're saying, you need to be able to be kind to yourself, show yourself grace, love yourself. It's about loving yourself first with all your flaws and everything. And I'm still figuring out how to do that. I'm definitely a long ways off, but I am learning and figuring it out. Kids, I struggled a lot with being physically affectionate, and I think I'm really only getting into it now once I've realized really that I struggle with it. Many occasions I have the urge or the thought crosses my mind to say, let me, hold your hand, or let me brush your head, or whatever. But I hold back from doing it because my mind almost tells me that this is going to be awkward, or the next person is probably going to be like, what are you doing? But I'm slowly forcing myself, well, not forcing, but I'm letting myself give in to those feelings. If I want to hold your hand, I make sure I don't think twice about it. I don't give myself time to think about it. I just do it. If I want to reach out and hold you, or just randomly give you a hug if I feel like it, I try and make sure I don't think too hard about it. I just go in and do it. Because the moment I start to think too hard about it, is this awkward? Is this random? Is he going to think, what the hell are you doing? Then I'm probably not going to do it. And then it's not from a genuine place. And I feel like a lot of the times I felt like I don't show you the amount of affection I feel for you inside. And so I want the amount of affection I feel to be evident to you and with our kids, you know. Obviously with the appropriateness now,
Yes.
you know, which is obviously, you know, getting into kind of intimacy after kids, you know. For you, do you feel like you were able to show, you know, physical affection or be really intimate on a deep level outside of sex before and after kids?
Interesting question. I think, I mean, you're the person that can answer that, right? Because I show it to you. For me, what I was learning over the years, I think I've gotten better, but I relapse a lot. Is showing, is being tender when I need to be tender towards myself, right? And this is across, like, whether it's work or achievements or where I'd like to be or where I told myself I'd like to be in life at a certain age or after a certain amount of years, after setting a goal or weight loss or food or portions or everything, you know. For me, this is all part of being intimate with myself, like with showing compassion. I relapse because I really get really stringent towards myself, and then it kind of spills over to everything else, obviously, because, you know, there's certain disciplines that affect other things if implemented. So it's just choosing how the intimacy affected me pre-marriage, post-marriage, pre-kids, post-kids. Those are 4 different levels for me. You know, because some of the there's disciplines that I instill that are quote unquote hard on might be beneficial for me, being hard on myself to achieve and ascertain certain things, but it might affect some portions of our union, like our marriage.
Yeah, for
right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because that comes with a whole lot of things, you know. But there's a lot of things to consider, you know, when I need to start, like when I sit down and go, okay, cool. This is the layout of intimacy. You know, there's main characters here, because, you know, there's different relationships with these characters. There's a different relationship. You're my wife. You know, I got my son, I got my daughter, and finding that balance of them not seeing a difference between how I act intimately towards them, as there are different genders, you know, and also the intimacy that I show you must be able to be differentiated between the intimacy
with
that
kids.
I show our daughter. You know, they are kids, but they must be able to tell.
Yeah, that
you know?
This is for like kids. This is PG-13.
Yes, and organically.
Yes,
like not like
yes.
organically. It should just be something that, you know, it's just fluent, and also not having them not be in touch with themselves and the intimacy and tenderness with themselves and taking care of themselves. You know, and yes, boys will be boys, but they must take care of themselves. You know, so I know I'm long-winded, but your question is pre and post.
All right, let's get into the meat of it.
Oh, that was the starters?
Oh, that was the starters, baby.
Okay.
So the meat of it.
The meat.
Intimacy with your partner now, after kids. I could speak all day, I think, on this topic. And it's a very contentious one, and it's actually quite it's quite deep, and I think a lot of people struggle to speak about it because maybe, I don't know, like it's a touchy topic, or maybe some people might feel embarrassed about it or whatever. I don't know, but it's very deep, and I think we don't speak about it enough. And I think that's why sometimes you find partners maybe splitting after having kids, because you're not equipped, or you're not prepared for the changes that could occur. And I say could, because yes, it won't be everyone that will experience this, but there's high chances of it, And so I'll speak firstly from my point of view as a female. So firstly, I mean, you have kids or you fall pregnant, and while you're pregnant, pregnancies are different for everyone. Hormones hit you differently for everyone. I think it actually starts from pregnancy, because I remember seeing, like, people talk about sometimes, the fact that you're supposed to apparently feel more desire to be physically intimate with your partner while you're pregnant. I didn't have that. I did not have that. In fact, I feel like my libido decreased during pregnancy. It was very hard for me to feel the desire to be physically intimate. And that made me feel really, really crappy. And that made me feel like something was very wrong with me. And it also made me feel very guilty for not feeling that desire to be more intimate, as people claimed would happen. And, and obviously this is now me speaking in hindsight after, obviously doing research and finding out more and speaking to real people, and not looking at Instagram moms and all this nonsense at times, which can really be nonsense at times. Because I'll reiterate, everyone is different. So that was number one. Like, my libido decreased during pregnancy, specifically my first pregnancy. I didn't have any desire to be touched. I had a desire to be touched, like I wanted to be held and cuddled and all of this, but not like that, if you know what I mean. And it had...
No, I don't.
And it... and
our listeners don't, so break it down for them.
I had no desire for intercourse. Let me put it very bluntly. I had no desire for intercourse at all. I wanted the affection.
I know that.
100%. I wanted the affection to the point where after the birth, when, like, the affection kind of decreased, I felt some type of way, like, how you just wanted the affection while I had this person in my stomach, and now you're no longer holding my stomach at night and all of this, So it definitely, I enjoyed the affection very much, but the intercourse definitely not as much. And it was hard for me because, like I said, I felt guilty because I didn't want you to also think that I had lost my desire for you. But I just, it just wasn't there, and I couldn't help it, right? So it starts from pregnancy. You never know which bag of sweets you're going to get You could have more desire, you can have less desire, or almost zero desire. That's number one. And so that means you have to try and force yourself or find ways to try and connect with your partner in other intimate ways, to try and keep that fire going, you know. And then after baby comes, then it's more hormones, you know, and then it's the baby blues. And for some extreme cases, it's postpartum depression. And for some even more extreme cases, it's postpartum psychosis.
For you, it was what?
For me, with pregnancy 1, for me, I definitely had postpartum. I had the baby blues, but I think because I had, you know, that thing of going home for 3 months, and so obviously I went home for 3 months, even though I didn't actually complete the 3 months, but at some point, very briefly, for literally a few minutes, one night, I think I actually had an episode of postpartum psychosis where I thought my child was being possessed by a demon. And that was the craziest thing ever, because it felt so real, and I was actually afraid of my own child. And I didn't want to sleep in the same room as him. It was very crazy. But I think I was, in that moment, lucky for me, I was able to like bring myself back to reality and be like, this can't be real. Like, this is not happening. You know, it's something is, and I think it also goes along with the environment you're in and what you're exposed to. If your environment is warm and loving, or if your environment is toxic in some way or another. And unfortunately, I was in a toxic environment at that time. And I think that's what played a part in it. I mean, at some point, I was sleeping with scissors under my pillow, not because of my child, but because of the person I was living with. So
it ain't me, guys.
No. Like I said, I went home. So your mental state and your environment is very important after having a kid and can affect a lot of things. So yeah, your hormones are all over the place. There's baby blues, there's postpartum depression, there's postpartum psychosis. You are obviously healing from giving birth, whether it's natural or C-section. There's a lot going on in your body. And they say that apparently your body only starts to get back to normal after 2 years of having your kids. And sometimes it can be up to 7 years of having that child. And imagine in between, in that 2 to 7 years, you're having another kid or another kid.
Does it then extend?
I don't think it extends, but there might be times maybe where it kind of backs up the healing, because your body obviously needs time to heal, I think, and get back to normal. And remember, you're also not getting any younger. You're not staying the same age. Your body is, quote unquote, deteriorating or, you know, aging. Okay. So it's not like Mauzala. When you're done that 2 to 7 years, you're going to be back to the person you were 7 years ago, or your body's going to go back to, if let's say you had a child at 30, now you're 37. It's not like at 37, once you're now over that, it's like, okay, your body's back to 30 years old. No. Like your body is going to be aged in some way or another. So you'll never be the person you were at 30 again. You know? So it takes a toll on you physically as a mother. And sometimes, and a lot of times, and like I said, we don't speak about this a lot of times your libido doesn't decrease, whether you like it or not. And
does decrease.
Yes, okay. It does decrease. And so I think what happens a lot of the times, and because we don't speak about it, a lot of the times as a woman, you ignore those things. and you ignore them because there's a part of you that feels shame and feeling bad about not having the desire, and you also find it hard to speak to your partner about it because you don't want him or her to think that it's because you don't desire them anymore. And it actually has absolutely nothing to do with them, but has everything to do with how your body is functioning post creating a whole human inside of you and your hormones being all over the place. And you're not given the tools, even by medical professionals, to deal with those kinds of things and what you can do, or the kinds of things you can, or the kinds of avenues, even natural remedies you can try to, get that back once you're ready to. We're not told about these things. And so because we're not told about them, you kind of think there's something wrong with you. You blame yourself automatically. And because the partner's also not there to hear a professional speaking about that as well, because they rarely do, they also don't understand. So it becomes difficult even for you as the partner to have that conversation with your partner to say, hey, I actually don't have the desire. And because you feel, like I said, you feel bad because you don't want your partner to think that you don't desire them anymore. So it takes time now to get back to where you were. And there's nothing worse than trying to be intimate with a partner you have no desire to be intimate with because you don't have those feelings. It's almost like you are dead. Like they don't exist at all. There's no desire. You feel, and the insecurity starts to set in that if you're not doing this for your partner, you're not able to be intimate in that way, that person's going to go elsewhere to get that kind of intimacy. And it's like, awuzenzi. But like I said, because we don't speak about this a lot, it takes time for you to get to a place of realizing what's actually like really, really gunekingala. And what are the avenues that we can go down to try and fix this? And there really are avenues. But because we don't speak about it and we're not made aware, we don't know that there are avenues and that there's actually nothing wrong with you, that this is actually normal and this happens more than we care to speak about. But there are ways to remedy it. And it's also not a permanent thing. And also remember, a lot of us, or there's people who start having kids maybe late 20s, 30s, and we also don't speak enough about perimenopause. That can happen from as early as the age of 34, 35. But a lot of places will tell you that happens in your early 40s. Late 30s. And it's not true. That can happen as early as 34, 35. So by the time you now have stopped having kids, you're already in perimenopause. And now you're having those symptoms now, not just because of post-pregnancy, but because of perimenopause.
Okay.
But we're not given the tools to figure it out. And so you have to find other ways to try and be intimate with your partner and to explore different things that you can do. But yeah, that's just, I know I've said a mouthful, but that's just like a broad overview of what it's like to, try and engage in intimacy with your partner after kids. Also including the fact that you also then, like you said, there's no more of the spontaneity. You have to now try and be considerate of the fact that there's kids around. You can't just be spanking my butt randomly in front of the kids. You can't be grabbing me and doing all these kinds of sexual things in front of the kids. Now, finally, calculate. No, ngithintilana phela unengane lana. There's no, there's,
we are
it's
those
not
folks
fun.
now.
It's not like spontaneous and fun like it used to be. And you have to just accept that.
Yep.
As a man?
Tina, you know, like you just tapped along WhatsApp, right?
I know.
And I'm just gonna respond with a sharp. So
Oh
my response is
wow.
my response is after everything you said, I just want to put it in every chance I get.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I mean, look, it's we have our struggles as well. As hard as it is to admit it, we can sense, like when you are talking about the real struggles. Now, I'm not, as a man, I feel like I'm not desired, because you're going through what you're going through, and I'm not understanding it. And now my eyes start to wander. You start to go, maybe I should start planning my exit. Or maybe I'll phone. It's all of these things because we're not even talking about it. We're not even intentionally engaging. So your mind is wandering and wandering all over the place. There's no direction as to this specific topic. Topic that I'm speaking of, like the intimacy. Because you're not understanding the broadness of it. You're just thinking about the sex. Men think about the sex more than all the other aspects, of being touched, the back of the head, banjwi sandla, rubbing on your chest, whatever it is that you do for the man to feel that there's touch in this relationship, and makes him feel desired or makes me feel desired. You go what you go through, and me not understanding it almost like pushes me away physically. Like you said earlier, that's how people end up separating, because the understanding is akangifuni anyway.
Yeah.
So I just had a thought. It's crazy. Maybe that's the Msele Gumangwabe situation. Anyway.
No, that's what I've been thinking about the whole time.
No. So, it's also the tiredness. As a man, I think it's just the tiredness. And the tiredness is it's not just physical, it's also emotional. Like, I'm tired of initiating. I'm tired of trying. I'm tired of feeling like I'm the only one that actually wants to be intimate. Ngidonsangiwani manje. I know it's not. This is not a balanced scale no more. It really, really is exhausting.
Yeah.
It's really exhausting, and it also starts to. You get very preoccupied with the family and the kids and the energy for the intimacy. It's almost like it's the last thing.
100%. Because by the end of the day, because of the spontaneity that's gone, you can't just do it anywhere and everywhere where you feel like it. You have to wait.
Yes.
So, and it's usually the end of the day. And now by the end of the day, you are sapped. You are tired.
There's no time for it. Excuse me. There's no time for it. But over time, we realize that, that's nonsense. There can't not be time for it, because it's costa.
Yeah.
And it might cost us our relationship. I mean, remember, like, for us to build a family, we're in a relationship. We started by umjolo, and we are here now. So the aspect of the relationship needs to always be there.
Yep.
I think it's as important as putting bread on the table. You know,
it is
very, very important, because that's what keeps the air and the energy light in the home. Knowing that the butterflies are always activated.
Yeah.
You know, and they're intentionally activated. You know, you gotta make time for reigniting the intimacy. More, don't let it depreciate or deplete to a point of the battery is dead. You put in the charger and it still needs to boot up. You know, sometimes that phone doesn't boot up anymore, or it takes slightly longer. The battery's got a problem because you're not taking care of it. We got to intentionally take care of that intimate part of our relationship. And I realized that if we this is posts, definitely more with child number 2, where I was like, this is obviously, I'm slightly a bit grown, you know, a little bit more experience from child 1. There needs to be an intention. I think we're old hands now more than ever.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? You know.
And it was also for me, I think, the same way you're saying you grew in child 2, it's same with me. I think I started to obviously realize, okay, this is actually normal, it happens, but there's other ways to build intimacy.
Yes.
So I started to become very intentional about it. And I think a lot of the times we tell ourselves that if we're forcing ourselves, or if we are trying to force to do something, then it's not genuine, which is not necessarily true. I love you with all my heart, and I like being intimate with you, whether it's actual intercourse or other ways, you know, and I want you to feel that intimacy. And so
that's very important.
Yes.
That's very important.
Yes,
like hearing you say that is very important to me.
Yes, you have to want your partner to feel that intimacy. And so even if it takes you extending yourself to your partner in a way that seems like is not genuine or calculated, but that's what it is. That's what a partnership is. It's extending yourself to your partner in a way sometimes that can be of a compromising nature, you know, or that's what partnership is about. You know, you extend yourself to me, I extend myself to you. Even if it means penciling in on Wednesday at 9 p.m. dinner, we are having intercourse. You do that because you have to be intent. There comes a point, like, we're not young anymore, guys. Realistically, we're not young anymore. You know, we have bills to pay, we have lives to run, and once you have kids, it's even worse. You know, you're now sharing your time with your kids and your partner. You have to pencil in things that you do together. You're no longer able to be spontaneous, even about going on dates. You know, you have to plan and say, okay, for instance, if you have a nanny like us, we know it's okay, our nanny's gone on this weekend or whatever. You plan around that. Okay, she's here on this weekend, let's plan to do something. Let's plan to go out and go and have lunch or whatever. Or have a weekend away, whatever it is. You know, you have to be intentional about it. And for me, actually, I'm finding that it's more rewarding now, because it's no longer, yes, we're young and carefree, you only live once vibes. I'm being intentional about extending myself to my partner. And so it feels even more worthwhile and even more valuable.
And you look forward to things.
Yes.
You know, you look forward to things. They might seem minuscule for those that are carefree and don't have a sort of like quote unquote structure. And it might sound a bit rigid, but you know, what works for us won't work for the next person. But you know, like what you're mentioning about Wednesday after dinner, etc., we're going to, you literally have all the time and everything that you go through, because life will life, like it will go on, things will happen, good, bad, you know. You need to psych yourself and build into it. And if you have reached, like, if your dopamine has reached a threshold, you must untap and other ways.
Find ways
of exciting yourself.
You tap into that.
You know? This is how you get creative in the things that you do.
Yes.
I.e., for me, like, if we are running errands for the day, and throughout that day, we're holding hands, you're rubbing my hand, you are, you know, coming close to me, you kiss me, you put your head on my shoulder. These all sound minuscule, but those are build-ups. For me, those are like build-ups. Like I feel like you want me, you desire, you are attracted to me, you're physically attracted to me. And those things, you know, when it's all rounded up and we're having our moments at the end of that day, it contributes to, I don't know how to explain, but it really contributes to the energy that exuded from me, that unexplainable energy that I can't say in words, you know. And also, even if that we have like a crazy day when we get back home and, you know, we need to bath the kids or play with the kids and watch something with the kids and then feed them and then bath and then we're tired and then we sleep, I'm content.
Yes.
Even if we had penciled in our time. But I'm content because I don't feel like
you were dismissed.
I'm drifted.
Yeah.
You know, we have drifted. The day was beautiful. You know, my woman touched me. She held my hand. I felt her warmth through physical touch. Like, you touched me. I want you to touch me. You know, I want you to pop my pimple. I want you to, you know what I mean? I want you to, or, you know, like, this is how intentional we are, or we have been.
Yeah.
Because this is how it is.
And I think, like you said, it's probably we've held hands more in this period than we ever have.
Yep, we have.
You know, we've engaged more, and like you're saying, it's not necessarily always about what at the end of the day there's a happy ending. Sometimes that happy ending ends up not happening.
I like happy endings.
Yes. We definitely want happy endings. But sometimes
don't get it twisted.
But sometimes it doesn't always get to a happy ending.
Yes, for sure.
But
for sure.
Like you're saying, the leading up to that during the day and the showing affection and sending a text here and there or a heart or being flirty throughout the day, and then when you get home, smiling at each other, giving each other, you know, flirty kisses and, you know, rubbing my arm here and there while I'm cooking or whatever, that all counts to something, because we might not get to the happy ending because we are really fatigued at the end of the day and we might roll over and pass out when we get to bed. But because we still have that connection and you still feel like I desire you, I still feel like you desire me, it doesn't really matter on that day, because it's like, it's fine. There's still tomorrow and there's still the next day and whatever for us to get there, you know. But we're not drifting, disconnecting.
Yes. Oh, it's thinking about it all. We've come a long, long way.
Yeah.
And it's because of all this intentional talk and us being intentional, it has actually like brought us even closer and even more intimate. And our kids, they're so loving.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's not like we sit them down and we, do this, do that. They hold hands, they hug,
Yeah, I've seen our son, do things with our daughter that I never even imagined that he knows to do. Like the other day he was like giving her a forehead kiss. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is so sweet. And it's not something we taught him or forced him to do, but he just randomly did it, one day, and he's gotten used to doing it now, and I think it's just a testament of the fact that no matter what has happened or how the dynamics are in terms of intimacy with us, but they still see like the core of the intimacy. And that's my aim really for our kids and for us, is that no matter what's happening, even if we don't have sex for like a month, my gosh, but because we're still connected and we're still intimate in different ways, it's not a colossal issue.
Let's not do month long.
No.
Yeah,
that's
please.
Definitely not the intention.
No.
It's definitely not the intention.
We're still young.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're still young. That time will come, not now.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely not the aim.
We are not in agreement.
How? I didn't ask you to agree with me on that. Oh yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think this is such a broad topic, and I think I could still, there's other things I wanted to explore and really say on the topic, but I think I pretty much touched on the most important parts of it from a female's perspective of, intimacy after having kids on a really practical level, because there really are things that hinder intimacy that are really real, that I think are not spoken about often enough.
There's also there's something that, a lot of, I think, it's almost a taboo topic, or rather, this intimacy, which is part of intimacy, from a male perspective, and it's as a male, you spend money, taking care of your family, and you left with no money. It's fulfilling to know that you're taking care of your family, but as a man, you always want to have surplus money to be able to do extra things, and when you don't, it does affect your intimacy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
it does affect your intimacy. The Hardys are probably not as hardy.
Oh my God!
And you must find that balance where your woman thinks you don't really you're not into her, and obviously she's not gonna fully understand because you're not fully letting her in on what the real issue is, how it makes you feel, because you're a man, you don't want her to come into that world and also have that worry and that concern. We split these responsibilities, or let me not say responsibilities, these feelings, they become split. They can't always be shared, even if they are verbally communicated. The understanding is different. You've never understood. I mean, we've spoken about the bounds that's one has or a dude has when they have money, and the bounce they do not have when they don't have money. You don't fully grasp it because
I do.
Well, over time.
No, I do. I get what you say though. I think for let me not say most, some women, yes, maybe. But I get it. I really do get it.
Let's just say. Let's just say, like, you still feel like we can still be home cuddled up, watching series or TV or whatever the case may be, drinking hot chocolate and rusks, and all be fine and gravy. No, woman, I need guaps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my head is not in this space right now. My head is in the space of trying to get it. And it's difficult to, and it becomes hard to understand from a female perspective because everything is covered. We've covered everything. Let's wait. And, it's not like we're not covered. Yo, listen. Let's not snack it out and cuddle, and I'm not there. That's intimacy. That makes you feel like you can't fulfill certain attractions to your partner when it is, like, it's just unexplainable.
I get it, and I think it's almost exactly what I was describing now with the hormone shifts and the fatigue of taking care of kids. I think the same way you talking about the financial responsibility, I think a lot of the times, almost in like natural order, the woman tends to be more of the nurturer, so she tends to take care of more of the household things, and the kids are very demanding, and they really require not just your physical but emotional attention and psychological attention, and that can be extremely exhausting on us, so by the end of the day you might get to a place where you're like, okay, I've done ABC with the kids and in the house, but you're just so sapped, and like, it's like, bruh, my priority right now, honestly, is not having sex. My priority is that I need to rest because I'm so exhausted, because tomorrow I'm doing this again. Tomorrow I'm waking up early again. And now my priority is also, I need to go to gym to get my body back in shape because this child has ruined my body. I need to get back into shape for you as my partner. I don't feel great about myself, which is also killing the intimacy. Then I still have to think about the fact that I've got work or a business. If I'm running a business, then it's still, I need to take care of this child or my children or whatever. Like, ngikhathele. And when ufuna nje ukugqobhoza and mina nje ngithi bra ngikhathele sekuyoshaya 10:30 ngifuna ukulala. Because isikhathi siyahamba and my body is still healing, so ngikhathele already, but there's the added on stress of having kids or a kid, so I cannot, dude, like, hambo gqobhoza le ke mawufuna ukuyogqobhoza le mina ngikhathele.
Hey.
This is not approval. It's not approval. Thank you.
I guess that rounds it all off. Okay, wifey. Ooh, that was a a very interesting one. A very interesting one. Shout outs to you.
Shout outs to you, my husband.
Yes, my love. And shout outs to our listeners, one subscriber at a time. We grow after the honeymoon. We close it off. Well, I close it off. We always remember we close it off with our motto. I've got my motto. You got your motto. Song of the week. Yes.
When are we doing the mottos? Since when?
Since episode 5 or 6.
Hey bo, mina ngikhumbula amacula amamoto nje angiwakhumbuli.
Okay. Song of the
You
week.
just made that up now.
No, I didn't.
Nigga.
You'll hear when I say my motto. I can't think of my song.
You started that when?
I think my song of the week is Many Faces by Jonathan Butler. And my motto, I leave you with, do not litter. Please, do not litter. I thank you.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow, okay. Yo guys, I'm so sorry, but I've forgotten this artist's name, this lady's name. Amazing lady. Her music is really amazing, but I really forgot her name right now. Oh my gosh, I feel so bad.
Song?
But the name of the song is called Imimangaliso.
Leah Butler.
Leah Butler. Wow, that's actually crazy. You your song is Jonathan Butler's song. Mine is Leah Butler. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The Butlers today. Oh wow. But yeah. Amazing song. So that's my song of the week. My motto is just like you never know what someone else is going through. So extend grace and be kind to everyone.
Yeah.
That's my motto, and I think it's my motto from now until I am 6 feet.
Don't let them fight you for until next time.
Cheers.
Peace out. Cheers. Bye-bye.